Ah, the water level, the sweet relaxing music, the beautiful aesthetic. I've always found them to be such a sight to behold in the wonderful realm of video games.
What the fuck is that?
This is really The water level is an inevitable part of video games. When 70% of the world is water and the other 30% is people who hate the water template from Ocarina of Time, you're gonna have some strong opinions. Love them or hate them, it cannot be overstated the amount of emotions that can overwhelm us when we're faced with the challenge of tackling the deep ocean blue. Whether it's the nice relaxing music that can soothe you to sleep when you slowly hear the Noki depths start to flutter in the background as the bright red fish flutters by. Or maybe you're just not a fan of all of the above. But why do we have strong opinions? Why is it the water level that everybody hates and not any of the other biomes like fire, sand, sky, bees? Most games have a water level, or some type of mechanic or gimmick that puts water at the forefront. And while most people have a negative opinion towards it, when games do it right, stop that. They can be some of the coolest and most creative. Let's go back to 1985. Your Nintendo registered, and after years of programming and toying, you have finally created the first video game ever, Super Mario Bros. For the NES. Not Duck Hunt. The game feels good to control. You can go left and right. If you press A, you can jump. You are fully in control of a character on a screen and can progress through the game with no problems. It feels great. What the f*** is that? Underwater levels strip your movement away. Now, by looking at the history, we can clearly see that this is meant to be used as an obstacle. You've spent a whole entire world getting used to the game mechanics, and now it's time to switch it up a bit. Give you a different type of obstacle that's not a turtle or whatever the hell this is. Shiitake Mushroom? I think this is an excellent base of what a water level can be. It's not complex, it's simple to control, and it captures the movement of being underwater. Even though I still wonder why Mario can't breathe. What, did you expect a joke here? But then we get to a 3D space, and of course, adding a brand new dimension leads to hundreds of dimensions filled with problems. See, when you're moving from point A to point B, even in a 3D space, you're still limited by your relative location to the ground. While there are 3 dimensions for the X, Y, and Z axis, we're mostly only concerned with the 360 degrees that we can move along the ground, with a jump being added every now and then to face certain obstacles. We also see the same thing in a 2D side-scroller, but that fixed point of reference is our camera, the box showing the outside of the screen being the area that will not change. Now, the reason why water controls feel so frustrating is because you're essentially completely getting rid of that relative point of contact with the ground. The game engine has to find a way to allow for a wider and more complicated range of movement that completely involves 360 degrees in all directions. It's essentially like you're flying in space, except there's buoyancy. You know, I've never thought about saying the word buoyancy, but now that I'm saying the word buoyancy, it kind of sounds like I'm saying BAM! This is where your complications come in. I'm underwater, I'm much more limited of my movements, so what can the game throw my way to potentially ruin this experience? Depth perception. Damn it. If I'm underwater, I already am having trouble knowing where I am going. So as a developer, you need to make sure you place obstacles or objects in a way that allows me to get around them. Like Not Clanker's Cavern. If I have to retrieve an object that is moving, I'm okay with that, so long as I don't have to chase after an object that is faster than me. Like this fucker named Unagi. If you're going to make me fight this giant pointless boss where I have to clean this eel mouth's teeth and then I can't use my water nozzle because it barely works underwater and I'm constantly sinking, and when I use the hover nozzle it barely registers because the camera doesn't line up with what's directly under you, so it doesn't feel beneficial, so I have to get slightly above and then don't have enough time to get out of his mouth and I'm in too deep. If you couldn't tell, I really fucking hate this boss. If you're going to introduce water into a game, you need to make sure it actively adds a new experience to the game while also offering a challenge to the already existing structure. Abilities! The second you hit the water, you lose nearly every ability in your arsenal. Mostly. When a game uses this to its advantage, it can bring a massive surge in creativity that makes traversing the level less of a chore and more of an experience that you can genuinely look forward to. Like, look at this boy. He's got little flippers on him. He can still do his classic spin move. Same concept, different dynamic. Shells in Mario Galaxy and Cheep Cheeps in Mario Odyssey that you can capture. Listen, this right here is the quickest way to turn an opinion that's bad into saying, God, I don't want this level to end. Using the water to its advantage is something I'm very fond of and something I wish developers would do more often. It can let me go, yes, I actually like this part of the game. I'm looking forward to this instead of having a negative reaction. God, please, no! I'm always really fond of the water levels in Donkey Kong Country. I like this fish. His name is apparently On Guard. He's adorable. In the same year, we got Hydrocity, Hydro something zone that gave us the bubble that let us bounce on enemies and breathe underwater. Super Metroid gave us the zero gravity suit, which not only ignores the gravity, but lets us jump higher than normal. It's a power-up in a water level. And all of these games released in 1994, the golden age of water levels. Almost. But not all water levels are created equally. Take, for example, Atlantica from Kingdom Hearts 2.
Swim this way, we'll dance and we'll play. Now it's very easy, come on and just take a chance and shake a fin.
Now what about the bubbles?
Whose f***ing idea was this? One thing I see brought up more often than not is changing the water levels inside of water levels. Hopefully that makes sense. Sometimes I like this. It can provide a nice change of pace and a different dynamic, but at the same time, I can feel like this is wasting my time. If this change of pace isn't engaging or interesting at the end of the day, I wouldn't even bother putting it in there in the first place. Ask anybody who's played Ocarina of Time. They'll tell you that the water temple is either the best level in video game history, or they're gonna bitch about the boots. But I've got a few more sound complaints. Zelda puzzles have my heart. They have the ability to make me think about every action that I've done and think outside the box to overcome different scenarios as different items are unlocked within the temple. But the water temple puts a little bit too much emphasis on backtracking. I'm not against backtracking. In fact, I think a lot of the time it can open up the way you view the game in a brand new light. But with a very cookie cutter layout of the water temple, it just causes more confusion and chaos as you go down one corner, but it turns out it's the other, and each corridor looks exactly the same, so you have to backtrack to find one R, but the one spits, so I'm getting just confused just talking about it. Which is a shame, because the water level is excellently crafted besides having to swap from the iron boots and the constant backtracking and the slow water. Okay, maybe I'm a little bit wrong here. Designing a water level is tricky because in order to add to the overall experience, you have to take away from the overall experience, and that has to be done by gameplay. But also should make sense in the form of storytelling. This is the last one, I promise. Where the f did my green screen go? If you're going to put a water level into the game, and I cannot stress this enough, it should not be filler just to add variation within your world. Again, it should be able to add some bit of creativity, show off the environment, because like I said, 70% of the world is water. I wouldn't miss it, but I'd find it very odd if water didn't exist in any worlds at all. But also, here I am in Call of Duty shooting bullets underwater. Doesn't that kind of defy a lot of the laws of physics? Why is it that in nearly every 3D version of Zelda, Link has the ability to swim, except for the game where he literally lives on an island? When you're designing any level for a game, your focus should not be on creating a water level, but creating an experience where the presence of water will add to the mechanics. The Last of Us has a water level. Why is it important? Because Ellie can't swim and it brings forth this tension, like, oh damn, what's gonna happen? This will help us explore the character more. Why is Nathan Drake underwater? Oh, because he just wants to live a simple life, and now he's chasing after pirate ships. And this completely makes sense contextually and doesn't hinder the gameplay or the pacing. People didn't like the water levels in Sonic 1 and Sonic 2 because it killed the momentum from Sonic games. So what did they do? They added boost pads, and they made the platforming better and spaced out the bubbles so it doesn't give me anxiety attacks that make me shit. The water temple has the pacing issues like I stated before, so what did they do there? They used the water to their advantage and created an entire gameplay style from it. When developers stop thinking of water levels as levels that contain water and start thinking of them as levels in which water plays a main factor, that's when developers start to shine the brightest. Super Mario Sunshine, pun intended, is an entire game in which water plays a priority in the story. There's levels where you can't touch the water. Yoshi is allergic to water, so they play off the environment to their advantage. But when they made a level that was strictly posed as a water level, didn't have a lot of creativity, and was downright frustrating, at least the music was good. Bioshock 1 and 2 are loosely considered water levels because the whole entire game is based underwater. Water is nearly a theme here, not a necessity. Gameplay is at the forefront, water is an afterthought. Water has this level of mystery and guise that makes us wonder how a situation is going to play out in a brand new environment that none of us can imagine being inhabitable. When water levels are done poorly,
it can be an absolutely obnoxious slog. But when water levels are done right, it can be an absolutely amazing experience that can take your breath away. I deserved that.